It's not.
All right. We're back in action. It's under agriculture. We are going to talk with some farmers on whatever they want to talk about our miscellaneous ag bill. And who would like to lead off?
Karen's gonna go first.
Who's that?
Top left, Karen.
Okay, Karen, floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. About how much time do I have, just so I can time it
Well,
correctly?
you've got about 7 of you who'd like to speak, 5 to 7 of you who'd like to speak. So if you get off on a tangent, Senator Major will pull you back in.
Thank you. I don't usually do that, but I can keep my comments to about 6 or 7 minutes, and happy to answer questions. Thank you for having me. My name is Kieran Killeen. I co-own with my wife Brianna the Killeen Crossroads Farm. We were founded in 2019 at the intersection of Dorset Streets and Cheese Factory Road in Shelburne, Vermont. We're right there on the corner with a big red barn and quite a bit of vegetable production. You may have observed our growth in those production beds, our greenhouses. We do pasture-raised chicken, beef, cattle, and our farm stand. You may have also observed our twin 5-year-olds running down the driveway or riding in the tractors with us. We employ 3 farmers, and our business and revenue has grown to several $100,000 over about 5 years. We're also a co-founding member of the AgriHood Collective, which is a mission-driven nonprofit that aims to promote regenerative agricultural practices, land stewardship, and access to farmers. We're excited to partner with organizations like Bread and Butter Farm and the Vermont Land Trust in this endeavor. But what I'm here to talk about today is a little bit of a dissonance in the state's promotion of accessory on-farm businesses. We had a particular issue with the prior Act 181 that I want to talk about, which allows for construction of farm improvements specifically related to educational events that can drive additional accessory on-farm revenue. So what I understand from the legislative intent is that if you wish to try to allow for local farms to step out of local land use zoning for the construction of improvements for accessory on-farm businesses for things like the storage or sale of qualifying products or other enumerated products in that legislation. And the legislation that was revised not too long ago says that there's no permit or permit amendment required for the construction of improvements for an accessory on-farm business for the preparation or processing of qualified products. And that's the crux of the limitation for our business expansion. You go on to talk about provided that more than 50% of the total annual sales and so on and so on. The percentage isn't the problem for us. Those are good changes as they were done. But these exemptions don't apply to the construction of improvements related to hosting events or farm stays as part of that accessory on-farm business. This restriction creates hardship for making farm improvements for food-based educational activities. So we've got the Agency of Ag actively writing about, promoting, and talking about how farms like ours should seek alternative revenue streams to become more viable, because trust me, it's brutally difficult for a small farm to make it selling calabrese or red lettuce. We need additional revenue streams to be above board, but we're not allowed to construct facilities to do that under the legislation. I cannot construct a kitchen to produce those value-added products and run educational activities through that kitchen, the way the current law is written. The legislative mandate, really, as I understand it, is to kind of, what you're trying to do is create more opportunities for farmers to have accessory on-farm businesses, including educational, recreational, or social events that feature agricultural practices or products. like tastings and so on, but we can't create a facility for that educational purpose. So it's a gap that really hamstrings us. And I want to be really clear because I want to be fair to my neighbors. We're not interested in hosting weddings. We don't want to do conferences. I don't want to host circuses, barn dances, light shows, or anything like that. We'd like to host cooking classes. We'd like to show people how to take products produced, core crops produced on a farm, and how to use them in their meal preparation. It literally is the extension of farm to table that makes a difference in people's lives. So we want to expand into the educational realm. We think there's probably some additional revenue to make there that would help our farm, but we're hamstrung because of this intersection with AOFB and the way the permitting process is allowed for. So specifically, really what we'd like to do is create an on-farm kitchen that allows for some seating where we could host small events that show people through cooking lessons and demonstrations how to prepare food, to become active participants in that educational activity, to taste the food, and then we would have some sort of fee associated with it that would make it all make more sense. That's the gist of what I wanted to talk about. And I'm happy to provide examples of where I think the law could be augmented a little bit without widening it out too far, because I think it's okay, and it's in the spirit of the legislative intent to modify the AOFB rules to allow for farms to become educationally related businesses, but still guard against what could happen, which is the proliferation of farms as sort of broad social, recreational, or private event spaces that what I think would be personally incongruent with their surroundings. So that's the kind of gap that I'm talking about that I think some mild revision would allow for.
We've got a couple senators who want to jump in on this discussion. And I don't want to steal with what I want to say, but we're going to take some testimony on this next week. Senator Major is actually setting up, so we'll I think that it would be valuable if we could probably have you come in again and talk about that at that same time. But I'll cede the floor to my senators. No, I'm all set.
Verbiage. Have you drafted up some verbiage that you may think would help us do what you're thinking?
I did. I shared it last year with Senator Hinsdale, who tried to move it. I'm not exactly sure where it ended on the wall and on the table, but
if you would just send it to Linda.
If you can send it to this committee, that'd be great.
Yes, Senator Major, I'd be happy to do that, and I think it's some mild tweaks that'll open up some opportunities without being too loose. I have neighbors I really care about, and like I said, I want to be careful there. Yep.
I appreciate. I'm sorry, but it's threading a bit of a needle here, and we want to make sure that you're able to find some auxiliary revenue. And this entire committee, but we're going up against other committees in trying to do that. So if you could send that to us, and there'll be some negotiations.
What we're going to do, Karen, is I doubt that anything's going to get resolved this year. But but what we have done as a committee, and we kept it on the forefront all season long, is we've kept this discussion going on it, and we're going to have another good long discussion about this next week at some point in time. We'll make sure we reach out, and because as what happens in this building, if you don't keep this discussion going, nothing happens. And the longer you keep the discussion going, the more people you pull in, the more people you pull in, the more people you pull in. We and this isn't made to make you feel better in any way, we want to do this. We really, really do. And I do feel that there will be a path forward. We got to keep the discussions going, and we got to keep talking about it. And we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna have another good discussion about that this year. And we'll see again as we understand where you want to be. And it seems like it should be simpler than what it is. Very powerful forces working against us, but that's okay. That's okay. We've overcome a lot, and years past on different subjects, and this is something that isn't going to go away.
I understand. I appreciate the support and certainly giving us the audience for this. I know my colleague Becky Castle is also present and can hit on some of these themes from their angle as well. So I think we're all trying to make prudent adjustments that allow us to diversify our farm revenues as really any business would in an unrestricted zoning environment. We're just constrained left and right from doing that, and it's challenging in this current environment.
No, I understand. So, totally.
And you're not alone. I mean, there obviously throughout the state, farmers are trying to do this. So we just, as the chair said, we just need to keep this at the forefront. And even if it doesn't come to fruition this session, we will continue to work for it.
Super.
Good. Who's next?
Thank you.
Should I sit there? Hi.
Hi.
Thanks so much for inviting me. My name is Becky Castle, and my husband, Bob Clark, and I started and own Fisher Brothers Farm in Shelburne, Vermont. We're actually around the corner neighbors from Kieran and Brianna. We started our farm in 2014, and literally we have had just about every regulatory roadblock that you can imagine, and it's been very frustrating and very costly. I feel like I should give you a little context for the business that we've built, and then I'll go into specific adjustments that I think need to happen to S323, but then also talk a little bit about the broader context of I think what needs to happen in agriculture in Vermont to make it successful. So we right now have about 40,000 row feet of fruit. Last year, we produced tens of thousands of pounds of fruit. We use it primarily in our own product. So we developed, I think, an increasingly popular brand called Sister's Banarchy Ice Cream. You can get our ice cream sandwiches in cafe. We sell that ice cream in about 300 locations throughout New England. We do 150 catered events annually. We ship our ice cream nationwide, and we actually started producing our own dry ice, both to preserve our fruit and also to ship the ice cream. And that dry ice is used by other agricultural and food businesses. So I think we've become a really integral part of the food system in Vermont. What else? Oh, we also make wellness syrups, and we started a bakery last year to use even more of our fruit and value-added products. So specifically on 323, right now, I think in section 6, it says something about 50% of the product that you're creating has to come from your farm, and there's proposal to adjust that to up to $230,000 can come from another farm. 250. I think that you should just make it or. Like, why not say 50% of the product comes from your farm or 230,000? Like, why make it more restricted and more difficult for farms to operate? Plus, we've been operating under the impression that it's 50%. So if you change it, then all of a sudden we hit the threshold before we, need to hit it. So the simple or would accommodate that change. I think the other problem with how the accessory on-farm business, building for an accessory on-farm business works is that you might not need a permit to build the building, but then in the process of getting the health department permit, we were flagged by the A&R for needing an approved wastewater system. We have now been in the process for 14 months trying to get an updated wastewater permit from the A&R. It's been miserable and expensive. We've had probably 8 meetings with their lower level staff and the A&R leadership, and we don't see a way out of it at this point. We spent, tens of thousands of dollars on engineering from a very well-respected firm, Bauman Engineering. The permit application was rejected. And the A&R wouldn't provide us guidance exactly on what they wanted. And their answer was, we'll hire an engineer to resubmit the proposal. And we refused. We've already spent our wad on engineering, and we're not going to hire another one because the A&R, what it should be is like a collaborative process where you work with the A&R and they say, okay, well, maybe you need a grease trap or maybe you need this. It shouldn't just be the default thing is that the A&R is like, you need $100,000 pre-treatment system. When in fact, on our very busiest week of the year, we're using 700 gallons of wastewater that feeds into our 4-chamber septic mount that we're using 1 chamber. I think the other issue, I know this isn't specific to the miscellaneous ag bill, but I think it gets at the frustration that so many farmers have. Working with the A&R and Act 250 is a totally opaque process. I have no idea how it works. I actually live in fear of both entities because you're sort of at their mercy, but they don't provide any guidance. And also things are very inconsistently applied. And then the last thing that I want to say is that farming in Vermont is like, you feel like you're beating your head against the wall. Because there's constant erosion of the value of rural farmland. And, they can slap a tier 3 designation on you at the state level. You could have forest blocks and wildlife corridors slapped on at the local level. In Shelburne, they just, since the time we've owned our property, if you want to subdivide a lot, you have to designate 40% as open land. Now it's 60% as open land. And pretty soon you turn around and this asset on your balance sheet is worth a lot less. And guess what? That means you have less access to capital because you're borrowing against the land.
Yeah.
So we have got to figure out a way to not erode the value of rural land. I just feel like it's stealing. That's the only way to look at it. And I know you guys aren't the committee
No,
that
but
passed
very valuable.
181 or 59, but it's not tenable. And literally once a week, my husband and I are like, let's put a sign at the end of the driveway and sell this. And we wouldn't even be selling the business. We'd just be selling the land. And we're in the middle of Shelburne. And so I can guarantee you just a 13 million house, like a $13 million house would go on that land, not a farm.
Sure. Yeah.
So, which I'm like fine with, because if I can just get out of this
Right.
with some money in my pocket, that will make me happy. But right now we're pretty unhappy because it's very, very frustrating on a daily basis, especially with the cost structure of Vermont.
Well, I just want to say that I've heard so much about you and I wish we were meeting on better circumstances because I hear so many great things about you.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
And it is. And I've heard over and over and over again. Have you met Sisters of Anarchy? Have you met?
Yeah.
Have you tried their ice cream? Have you done that? So I think that these sessions are very valuable for us to hear. And I just can't tell you enough. That's not falling on deaf ears. And things move slow. But we work hard.
Mhm.
And I think that, as we've said, kind of what we've said already is that you need to hear it and then you need to move forward. You need to keep on talking about it and you need to keep on involving more people.
Mhm.
And I think the biggest sin would be that you made that decision to put that sign at the end of the road before we could see something through. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that we can do something sooner than that.
I hope so too. And my husband and I are totally willing to come anytime to the State House and talk to anybody about whatever topic related to our business and how regulation affects it.
Well, we're gonna have a day. We haven't decided yet. We'll work with Linda and Senator Majors working on an agenda. And maybe Karen and you could come back in on that day. We'll give you guys time to work it in your schedules. And we'll talk some more about it. I think it's very important, folks. It's very important that we keep the discussion going because if we stop, it stops.
Yeah.
And so, you gotta be heard.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Can I just ask one question? What do I remember about your dry ice that you ran into a real huge problem with your dry ice trying to get that going or something?
It wasn't getting it going. So we had planned on putting in dry ice because we use it to both freeze our fruit, so post-harvest handling, and also to move our product to transport it, which are totally, the required agricultural practices. We're able to put the dry ice in place. But because we got put into the Act 250, or not the Act 250, the A&R Navigator that flagged Act 250 looking at us. And because we sell our dry ice, which instead
Aren't you one of the few people that do sell dry ice
we're
now?
the only producer of dry ice in the state of Vermont. And the only people we sell it to, the Agency of Agriculture for the Mosquito Disease Surveillance is our biggest customer. The reason they became a customer was the other dry ice company in Massachusetts, Netty, one day, and I think it was the summer of 2022, was like, you know what? We're not going to deliver to Vermont anymore because we don't have enough capacity right now, so we're dumping you. So within less than a week, we started delivering to the Agency of Agriculture. We provide dry ice to biologics firm that makes custom blood protein for global research. They use our dry ice to ship their blood protein around the world. We sell to Farmers to You, which takes products from 80 different farms in the state and brings it to Massachusetts and Boston. So it's like a critical piece of the agricultural infrastructure. We just recently sold dry ice to a farm that was using it for humane, non-pesticide pest control to kill rats in their barn wall. We sell to other like meat companies and food companies that all want to ship their dry ice frozen. Act 250 says that we need to have an Act 250 permit because we're selling the dry ice. And my position is, but the way I read Act 250, it's already like, we've made this because it's a required, we're allowed to do it under required agricultural practices. And to me, it's a strategic resource. Why are we going to make it more difficult for us? We'd have to hire a lawyer. Who knows if they would prove it? And it's become not a huge piece of our revenue, but allows us to be like a little bit more profitable. So I can't understand why Act 250, they've kind of let us alone for a bit because we've made a stink about it. But it just is mind-boggling to me. And we invested the money. We invested $150,000 of our own dollars. The state didn't have to pay for the strategic resource that now exists. Yeah.
Can I just offer a quick story? Because I think it's quite compelling and helps really improve Vermont's standing. Our farm produces turkeys seasonally. My wife met a producer, one of the pundits on a CBS morning TV show over the wintertime, who was enamored with purchasing a Vermont-raised turkey for Thanksgiving, and asked us to ship a turkey to her. We had limited capacity to do that kind of shipping, so we contacted Becky. We were able to package that up. Actually, we shipped, I think, 2 or 3 turkeys with Becky's assistance from their farm. And so the access to that dry ice was critical. It's that little sliver of accessory business activity that is really helping us try to stay viable that we're all talking about here.
Yeah. And I would say that's a good example, the turkey example, because frequently we'll be contacted by a farm that wants to ship something frozen. And we're not only selling them the dry ice, we're providing them that capacity. Like, this is the type of packaging you need. This is how much dry ice you should use. This is how long it will last. And frequently, like in the case of Kieran and Brianna, we actually printed their UPS label because we have an account where we get reduced costs, and then just sold them the reduced cost label. So they didn't have to pay like double the amount for shipping.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Becky, I also don't know why Act 250, that's a land use law.
Yes.
It should have nothing to do with anything else.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've already done the land use part and you just want to make money by shipping it somewhere. And I don't understand why they're involved.
Because they say that we're selling it to other people. So we need an Act 250 permit. The fact is, nobody looking at it, if you took a picture of our farm
affects the land in
with dry ice and without dry ice, it would look identical.
Yeah.
It all happens in a 6x8 room on the inside of our barn.
So
and we have a tank at the end that looks like a grain tank.
I also find it deeply concerning and disturbing that agencies and departments in the state aren't helping anybody. Customer service is absolutely horrible from what I'm hearing. And I'm curious whether you're dealing with the District Environmental Commission or ANR and DEC. And
Yeah.
there are
So,
differences.
I will tell you, there are some agencies that are extremely helpful. The Agency of Ag on technical support, our dairy inspector is amazing. His name is Steve Vogt, and from a technical perspective, Agency of Ag they're great. They want to see you succeed. They work with you like a partner.
I think all the committee members will agree.
Yeah, the Department of Health has been amazing. So, in actuality, we shouldn't be allowed to have a Department of Health permit for our bakery because we don't have the correct wastewater permit, even though our permit is, how we're using the water is not affecting anything. But the Department of Health has just continued to give us 90-day permits. And they just said, like, we know you're in this problem with the ANR. But I will say with Act 250 and the ANR, I feel as though they are unhelpful. I think they look at themselves as like police, that they're trying to be punitive in how they interact with you, and totally unhelpful. I made a teeny bit of progress. I got so fed up, I contacted the governor's office and I was like, these are your agencies. They work for us. I don't feel like they're working for us. And that's when one of the leadership of the ANR got involved. And he's trying to be helpful, but I think he's butting up against a bureaucracy that's so entrenched and so unwilling to modify their ways that, it's like impossible to work.
Well, we're gonna bring you back next week. We're gonna move on.
Yeah.
Not that what you have to say is not very,
Yeah,
in
no,
fact, it's so important that we're gonna have some more testimony on it.
Yeah.
And so we'll bring you back in next week.
Great.
Linda and Senator Major will spear that up and we'll get you back in.
Perfect.
We're gonna, so
Thank you so much for giving me
Pleasure.
so much time.
Pleasure, absolute
Yeah.
pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, really nice to meet
So
all of
thank
you.
you. So, who's next? Yes. Who would be next?
Anyone, we're not, you sure run right down the list?
Who would like to go next?
There we go, Shane.
Shannon?
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to be short and sweet today. I'm mostly got on to talk about the Senate miscellaneous ag bill. I am Shannon Hill. I'm with Fort Hills Farm in Bristol, Vermont. I'm also the co-acting director for Vermont Dairy Producers Alliance. We did send out the bill to our members, and most everybody who saw what was in it was relatively happy with what they saw. And I think the biggest thing is we just wanted to get on here and say, we want to thank you for your efforts to catching on to what the Taft Street ruling did by opening up regulation to municipalities, excuse me. And so I just want to say just a short statement that we support returning this back to the Department of Ag. And as you know, the number of dairies does continue to decline here in the state of Vermont. And the remaining dairies, most of us are staying in business by purchasing neighboring farms and open lands in other towns. And so it's really important for consistency in regulation. And by adding that, especially where you have multiple municipalities that could have multiple rules, that it would really muddy the waters, that if we didn't sort of take care of this and nip this in the bud. And I really appreciate your efforts on working on that with this piece of legislation.
We appreciate your videos. Absolutely positively, knocked right out of the park on those videos. They're informative, they're fun, they're so professionally done. And I think that's a home run in itself.
Well, thank you. We've worked with Mount Mansfield in the past. Our farm has with other issues, and we've really enjoyed their material. And we believe that they did, along with all of our partners, did a great job on them as well. And I'm glad you guys are watching them and enjoying them. I'm not really sure how many people get to see them. So I do have a technical person that probably could tell me that.
So on the part that you're talking about, the sections 1 through 3, I think we're gonna get to a good place on that bill. Initially, we were gonna try to close that up last Friday, but we left it open for another week for the stakeholders to work some things out. And but I think that I think that at the end of the day, the gut punch that came with the decision is not going to be. I think we're going to be in a good place with that when it's all said and done. We're very proud of the work that we've done, and it's even better that the people that are involved with even the minute amount of discussion seem to be in agreement. So, I think we'll be in a good place when we, settle on our language.
Yeah, so that's really all we sort of wanted to say about that. The only other issue that sort of has come up is that isn't part of this ag bill is the current use.
Yeah.
And we really wish you guys would look at not having this a yearly sign up. I don't know about
So
other
we-
farms.
So
Our
we
farm
do
alone.
have, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We do
That's okay, go
have a
ahead.
couple that we are, that isn't showing on our miscellaneous ag bill. We're gonna, take up some discussion on that. And we've had 3 farmers talk about building structures and didn't know, or weren't aware about how that structure would fit into current use and didn't really realize that they had to make the town aware. They thought automatically it was enrolled and they got some pretty big tax bills. So we will be taking up some of that discussion next week on current use and about how they enroll or not. So, yeah, we'll be touching on that next week.
Okay, and I'm glad you say that because that also gives me some fodder. So maybe I need to go back to our members and push out something. I deal with current use a lot, both for Fort Hills Farms and Fort Hills Gen 3. I do as many as 23 of those yearly forms. And I know every time we build something, we have to update them and make sure that gets put in there. And it does get cumbersome to have to do that. I would rather have to do them once every 5 years. And then as we build things or change things, that would save a lot of time. I think a lot of people get confused when they get those in the mail. I don't think not everybody's tech savvy enough to do them online like I do. So I think that tends to get lost in the fold. So that's all we're sort of asking about, that is maybe looking at that a little differently.
Well, we'll be touching on that next week.
And I think that's all I sort of had.
Okay. Well, thank
I
you very
appreciate
much.
your time.
No, we appreciate you very much. Thank you for what you do.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any
Tucker.
questions?
No, I think we're good for right now.
Perfect.
Bye, Shannon.
Bye-bye.
And we see Tucker online.
Hi. Good morning, Senators, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. I'll try to keep it short and to the point. Sounds like you guys have a good handle on this bill already. So I'm a dairy farmer in East Montpelier, and I farm with my 2 cousins, my aunt, my uncle, and our families. And between my cousins and I, we're raising 8 children on the farm, ranging from 2 to 12 years old. And they're growing up in the same barns, in the same fields as my uncle, my cousins, and myself did. We operate 2 milking barns, approximately 1,500 cows, and farm 3,700 acres of cropland. Our herd produces 133,000 pounds of milk every day that's shipped into Cabot. We employ around 30 team members and welcome about 1,800 newborn calves on our farm annually. Addition to our dairy operation, we run a market where we sell all our own beef, pork, and lamb. We also host summer camps and give children an opportunity to learn about agriculture, dairy farming, and interact with our calves firsthand. We're running 3 weeks of dairy camps this year with about 48 kids each week. So we reach out to a lot of kids. My cousins, our spouses, and I have also taken over as 4-H leaders from my aunt and uncle, continuing a program that's been led for more than 20 years. Several of our past 4-Hers have gone on to pursue college degrees in agriculture. And we also are active in showing and registered Holstein cows in county, state, and New England shows. So for me, this isn't just a business. It's my home, it's my livelihood, and it's where, it's what we hope will still be here for our kids someday. It's definitely not my job. It's not my career. It's my life and the life that my family's chosen. So being good stewards of our land, soils, water, and animals matter deeply to me. And just as important as being a good neighbor or a good member of our community. Farming doesn't stop at the end of the workday. Our cows need to be milked. Our crops need to be managed. Animals need to be cared for every day, 24 hours out of the day. Because of that, we depend on clear and consistent ag exemptions to do our jobs. When regulations become uncertain or inconsistent, it makes harder for us to respond quickly and responsibly. One of my comments about the S323 is the idea of allowing other firms to apply different ag exemptions, and it sounds like you guys are pretty confident on your wording. I just wanted to mention that our farm operates over 3,700 acres. Those towns consist of East Montpelier, Berlin, Middlesex, Calais, Montpelier, Barry, Plainfield, Marshfield, Cabot, Craftsbury, Glover, Albany, and Hardwick. So that's 13 different towns. And you know, our fields and our farming operations don't stop at town lines. So you know, the different rules for different towns could definitely create confusion, inefficiency, and added costs. You know, our farm's not just open land. We build structures, barns, feed storage, manure pits. They're essential to producing high quality food, and they're not optional. When those structures are delayed or restricted, it directly impacts the ability to run our farm. As a large farm, we already operate under state oversight. We follow nutrient management plan, RAPs, environmental regulations, and zoning setbacks as a part of our permitting process. These rules are in place to protect water quality. Because of this, additional municipal regulation is unnecessary in my mind. I support the part of 323 that it clarifies ag activity that is subject to the required ag practices and farm structures are exempt from municipal laws. I think that clarity is important. I also support the proposed tax exemptions in this bill. You know, for families like mine, that matters. We're not just thinking about today. We're thinking about whether the next generation will have the opportunity to farm. Our logo here at Fairmont has a slogan on the bottom, and it's farming for future generations, and that's really important to us. Just a little bit about the farm kitchen provision bill. I support the creation of the clear definition of farm kitchens. I think a farm kitchen operation where products, you know, are grown or raised on the farm and preserved or packed naturally fits what farms want to do or what maybe we're looking to do in the future. I think it can create more local products, connect more directly with our consumers, and strengthen Vermont agriculture and dairy as a whole. Also just want to throw out there, thank you to the committee for recognizing financial pressures of, you know, that are facing farms and including the language to eliminate the annual operating fee requirement. So just at the end of the day, it's not about regulations for me. It's about people, families, and the future of farming. We're doing everything we can to run responsible operations, take care of our land, produce food for our communities. When you're raising 8 kids on a farm that spans 13 towns, we don't need 13 sets of rules. We need a clear path forward. And I guess that's all I've got. I'm right in East Montpelier. We run a fairly tight operation, and I just want to invite you guys, if anybody's interested in ever coming to the farm, we're always open for tours. A couple years ago, we had we had a group out, but if you guys are ever interested in coming to visit or learn more about anything, we're an open book and we'd love to have you. So thank you very much for all the work you guys do.
Tucker, thank you very much. Thank you for the very compelling testimony. Just reaffirming what farming is in Vermont. I don't know if we could have wrote any better chapters than what you just said. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. And this committee does work hard for farmers. It's always nice to be recognized for it, just like we recognize what you're doing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you guys.
Who's next?
Stephanie Pope.
Stephanie?
Hi.
You.
So I'm here with fifth generation farmer here on our farm. It's nap time. So I will not keep you guys. Everybody has said everything I was going to say, so I'm not going to repeat myself. But I do want to say thank you. And I always think it's important to put, names with faces, and that us farmers are real people trying to, just be here for the next generation and keep the ag landscape open. So I will not waste any more of your time because, like I said, everybody has said everything that I was going to say. But I didn't want to get off and be rude and not participate either. So,
If you want us a favor, do the world a favor and tell us your name and where you're from, Stephanie.
so I'm Stephanie Pope. I'm from Bridport, Vermont, right on the shores of Lake Champlain. We have an MFO. I'm third generation. And like I said, I'm holding the fifth generation while his mother is out working. So we are happy to be here and thank you for all that you do. And for the first time in a very long time, we're hoping we're seeing some great progress for agriculture in the state.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on. And what's
Thank you.
what's your grandson's name?
So this is my great nephew, and his
great
name is
nephew.
Yep, this is Caden.
Caden. Okay, well,
Yep.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on.
Take care.
You as well. Everybody?
Hello, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, how are you?
Mark Magnan here. I
Hey,
cannot
Mark, how
get
are
my
you?
video. I cannot get my video to work for some reason.
It's okay, Mark, you're looking good.
Thank you, sir. And I want to thank the committee for taking the time to listen to all of us today. I really appreciate that. I am one of the brothers that started Magnan Brothers Dairy over 30 years ago. I'm the third generation working here on the farm. The fourth generation is here. I have a 21-year-old son that farms with us. And we too have another 6 people in the next generation coming on our farm. Our grandfather emigrated from Canada in 1925, and my father remembers milking 26 cows by hand. Now we are milking 1,600 cows in 2 facilities in 3 different towns. So it is imperative, just as you've heard before, that this bill really keeps everything mainstreamed as far as regulations that we have to abide by. Fairfield is the main hub of our farm. It is a true farming community where dairy, maple, timber are the main sources of income that we derive from the land. And we, besides the local school, we are probably the largest employer here in the town with another neighboring farm. So it's very imperative that dairy and ag remain strong here in our community. With regard to current use, I really don't like the annual need to re-enroll every parcel that we have. And working with a county forester, they have said the same thing. There's no reason why this is a stipulation. So I'd really like to be able to work with you if we could change that. If anything, it just causes confusion. And it seems like they're almost out to get you than they are to help you.
I think you're going to be part of that conversation next week.
Okay.
We'll reach out to you as far as on that. I think you got caught up in a little something as far as with one building that didn't quite get enrolled, and your tax bill came in a little bit higher than what you were thinking it was. I believe that you were part of that. And but yeah, we'll reach out to you next week if that's okay.
Absolutely. And I don't mind coming down there either. But I do appreciate the time, and because current use is a very important program to us, and the name justifies just the program. Let's
Yep.
tax the farmers at the current rate, at what it's being used for today. I'm just blown by some of the testimony I've been listening to here. Isn't it amazing where one state agency needs this farmer for their dry ice because it's the only place that can be made in Vermont, and yet its sister agency wants to put it out of business. So I think we really need to listen to stories like that. That is very powerful because
It is powerful.
as dairy farmers, we are under that type of scrutiny every day. I really think, to be blunt, George Steinbrenner had a sign on his desk. He says, "Move to the left, move to the right, but get the hell out of my way." Um, uh, I just think that says something. I mean, if you're not there to help us, that's seen. That is truly seen. And my father had a statement always. He says, "If the weather doesn't get you, the markets will." And here's a guy that saw a lot of change. He grew up through the Depression and never had all the answers, but always willing to work at it with people around you. And that's what that told me. You don't always have to be the smartest person in the room. You have to be able to work with them. So I think there's a lot the state can do for farmers, and streamlining things like this is definitely helpful. But I also just would like the committee to realize what the neighboring states are helping their farmers with. Last month, Maine sent out a check of 45 cents a hundredweight on their milk that was shipped in their state. New York upped their tax credit exemption from 20% to 25%. Connecticut started that 20% tax exemption. Massachusetts is at $4 a hundredweight tax exemption. And I'm not asking the state to do that, but my point is, down in Montpelier, you really have to start realizing the sour taste that's out in the fields of Vermont about how the regulatory agencies are really running a pretty heavy hand on us. So I think we really need to think outside the box about, yes, I know there's no money to write to and I'm not expecting that or wanting that. We will make it in the marketplace. But when I think we need to also realize you got to think outside the box and maybe start reallocating some money. And if some of these agencies are not really willing to help us, do they really deserve the funding that they're getting?
And at the very least, if there's no money to reallocate, you move left, you move right, and you get the hell out of the way.
Well, that sounds pretty good to me.
Mark, thank you very much. We'll be in touch next week. And thank you for what you do.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're
Bye.
very welcome. One. Yeah.
Travis?
Is he on the, no, okay, then he was touching go.
We touch and go?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, is there anybody else left on the screen that hasn't spoken? Okay, well, we want to thank everyone. So committee, while we're still live, I think we have 3 big testimony things that next week that we're going to do. One is on the solar, one's on what Senator Major, Section 6. And the other one's going to be on the bill that Linda's going to get back to us on the current use bill. We can have that bill to look at tomorrow, and we can keep on just moving forward. But other than that, again, always great to hear from these folks. We can't. It's nice to hear that we're on the right path with a lot of these folks, but their frustrations are real. We just if we can't do anything about it, we can keep talking about it and keep moving things forward. So I think it's very, very important. I think the most important thing in life sometimes is to not get spoken to, but get listened to. And then take that and see what you can do to help. And, I do feel very strongly that, this committee, is dedicated to that. I think we're getting some wins. We need to get a lot more. But,